I've had with people from that area are opposed to us making salaries. They want us to go forward. They want to stay with Rankin County Schools.
But the thing is, stay with Rankin County Schools.
But the thing
Not
is, if
for
we
the
go
future,
on,
though.
Well-
Not for the future. You're not talking about. You're talking about these kids that are right now. We're not talking. You're not thinking about the ones that are coming up. You're not talking about the people who built houses thinking that their kids, when they have kids, are going to go to Rankin County Schools.
If they moved to build a house in the city of Pearl,
And we're under the impression that they were going to get to go to Rankin County Schools.
they were under the wrong impression. If you build a house in Hinds County, you're going to Hinds County School. I'm saying I'm going to try to guarantee somebody that builds a house in Pearl that we're going to let them go to school in Rankin County.
Hey, I agree. I built a house in Pearl. I'm a firefighter for the state of Mississippi. My wife went to Pearl. Her whole family did. I pay Pearl taxes. The fire department that I work with closely responds to my house. But yet, I have a 5-year-old, and I don't know where she's going to get to school. I'd like her to go to Pearl, but I don't want her to go to Rankin County School District. I pay taxes for her to go to Pearl.
But you moved to Pearl knowing that your children would go to Pearl Public School.
That's what I assumed. Maybe it was my
Well,
ignorance for not looking into the situation.
There's two more sitting back here the same way. I work for Pearl Police Department, he works for the city. And when we built in the county, it was in Pearl, and we knew it was gonna be Pearl. I thought kids would go to Pearl school. Now we're told they gotta go to Rankin. My kid's 4, his kid's 4, we don't know where they're gonna go. We're gonna go to Pearl. So that's it. We've built in Pearl, we live in Pearl, and we go to Pearl.
I think you've got to look at two different things. The city of Pearl and the Pearl School District is obviously two different creatures. If I were building a house and I wanted to be in the Pearl School District, I'd build a house in the Pearl School District. And I don't mean anything bad, but if you go build a house and you have a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old or any age, you look at the school district that you build in. If you build in the Rankin County School District, it's obvious to me that the children are going to be attending Rankin County School District. The law for municipalities and school districts are different. And just because one expands, it doesn't affect the other.
But under this proposal, anybody in the affected area that has a child in school now, whether it be kindergarten or pre-K, them and all their present and future siblings can attend Rankin County Schools if they choose.
only if they make that choice between 2008 and 2010.
That's not right.
I think that's what it states right now.
Yeah.
Not between
They will go to Rankin County, they'll go to Rankin County School.
Under the present offer, they can choose to go to Rankin County Schools.
Mr. Weather, I understand the theory of your stating that if they want to live in Pearl and build a home in Pearl and go to Pearl schools, build in the Rankin County district, or build in the Pearl district.
Not a serious fact, go ahead.
Well, I understand it's a fact, sir. Yes, sir, it is. But you tell me where in Pearl, Mississippi, in the Pearl school zone, that somebody can go and build. They're just not there, and that's why we did the annexation.
And I'm not arguing that. I'm just telling you what the law
Yes,
says.
sir. Yes, well, I'm telling you the facts too about Pearl. And I'm going to tell y'all something else. I would expect your expert witnesses to tell you what you paid them to tell you. I would expect that. I would expect to hear no. As a matter of fact, I'm feeling pretty good about what I heard about Pearl today. Basically, what I heard was the only growth in Rankin County is in that little area of Pearl, Mississippi. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I can go back and tell I got 4 members that heard that too. I feel pretty good about it. But I think y'all all know that's a bunch of bunk. If you tell me that Rankin County is not going to continue to be a high-growth district if you lose this area, that is an absolute lie. You tell me, Mr. Sturtevant, that the reservoir is not growing? Blowwood Reservoir's not growing? Come on, give me a break, folks. This is just another effort to harm the city of Pearl. We fought for everything we've ever got, and we're fighting for this today. And we're fighting for a reason. It's called survivability and sustainability. And that's the bottom line. Thank you.
Then, Dr. Burgess started out that question about the 487 students. I'm not sure that we're all clear on, and of course, we're talking about 487 students. There are students there with a particular name today, but in order to address your question, Bruce, I'm asking him to focus on that for a moment.
Two things that Dr. Armour has helped us on in analyzing this. Number one, he said, be careful, this is going to jeopardize unitary status later on. We know that's a long-term problem. That's a killer. The immediate concern is this. The only funding mechanism that is mentioned by Pearl Public School District is for Rankin to pay Pearl tuition for students and collect ad valorem taxes in the 1978 and 79 district boundaries. That's going all the way back to 78, freezing it and paying those amounts. It doesn't include the new annexed areas. Now, that's the only thing that's stated about it. And there's no end point to it, and there's a tax collection and tuition payment interchange that goes on, and it doesn't say how long it goes on or how it terminates or how it ends. I do know this, and under state law, you can bind only this term of office. What you decide is binding only upon this Rankin County School District Board of Education. The next board, which is your successor board, is free to walk away from or do differently from any long-term agreements. Our problem here is, number one, this can't be done validly under state law. You can't give away ad valorem tax funds. And number two, it puts a blur between the Pearl attendance zone and the Pearl Public School District. They're not interchangeable. Ruth, one thing that I'm real concerned about, because we've had to go back exhaustively and look at the boundaries and see where the changes were. It's not a real big mess. It's the way life is. You've had some annexations by Pearl, expansions of the Pearl attendance zone, and you've had some efforts before 1986 and after 1986. They all have different effects. But this does not spell out any end point. It doesn't spell out exactly where the ad valorem tax fund giveaway authority comes from. It certainly doesn't have any type of measure for it, nothing. And Dr. Armour is saying, look, before you ever were to do anything, you need to know what you're agreeing to. Anybody wants to sell it. I'll tell you this, I've been practicing 37 years. My daddy was a lawyer before me. He was a Prentice, Mississippi native, but we went to NYU. And he always told me, and I've done it the same way, try to settle all cases you possibly can. Civil litigation needs to be brought to a termination if you can reasonably do it. You cannot reasonably bring this case to a termination point based on this proposal. It has no end point. You're going to see 2 or 3 years from now another effort to save more students, more money, more profit. This has no end point to it. And that's why I am urging you to let the court, the federal court, bring this to a close in a formal way. That is the only way with a federal adjudication you can cut this off. You will see it again and again otherwise.
Mr. Irvin?
Yes.
I also live in Patrick Farm, and when we built there, we were told that our children had a choice of which school district to go to. And I know that, but they will. I'm going to stop. When we built in Patrick Farms, we were given a choice, and we built our own home. We didn't build through Landmark. We bought our property, built our own home. And we had an option to go to either school district. Now, we chose to go to Rankin because the proximity of Rouse was close. It was easy to take our children. Pearl has a fine school district. Had we been closer, we probably would have gone to Pearl. The problem that we're running into is that families have moved in there with this contention when they bought their house. They were going to have this choice. It's always, whether it's written rule, written law, unwritten agreement. And that's where all the contention is. Now, I know my children are safe to go to Rankin County. And I know those that are in the Pearl in that particular subdivision. Patrick Farms is unique. And unfortunately, it is a unique. Maybe not the El Dorado part. My problem is we have spent all this money. And I hate that all my taxpayer money has been spent. We decided to go forth with the lawsuit, okay? And now we're like coming to resolution. I would love to have a resolution that works out for everybody. I know they need to grow. I know Rankin County is growing. And I know at some point in time taxes are going to go up. It's just inevitable. You know, I had to pay income tax this year that I didn't want to have to pay, but I did. I don't know if there's a fair resolution other than a judge deciding what is federally mandated. And these guidelines were put into place by federal courts, by our federal system. This wasn't drawn by the state, if I understand correctly. These lines weren't drawn by the state. And I would like to side with Pearl. I like to side with y'all. I really don't know what to do. I've heard from both sides. And I know that Pearl has been lenient in granting waivers to students to go to Rankin County schools. I've also heard that Rankin County has not been as lenient granting students to go to Pearl schools. And I think that's some of the problem that these homeowners, which are also people I know, are friends, have, because they know they can't go and say, look, I want a waiver. I want my child to go to Pearl. I am in the Pearl city limits now. I didn't ask to be annexed, but it was inevitable. Some of these problems happened years ago when that area was given away to the Pearl area. Okay? It's been a lot of different people's fault for the way things are right now, and this fight is going on. I don't know what the resolution is. This gentleman's a fine attorney. I'll listen to everything he has to say. We spent all this money. Are we going to throw the money away? I would love to have a resolution, but what is a fair resolution? Do we try to decide between two boards what's fair? Do we let a court decide? I don't know what to say. But I know that the lines are drawn by the federal government, and they ought to have a say in what happens. Even if the resolution goes forward, and y'all, let's say, decide we want to go and let Pearl look at their resolution, it still has to be approved by a federal judge, from what I understand. It could go and they say, no, we're not going to do it anyway. So I don't know what to say. My kids are safe, from what I understand. Nothing can change that. Future growth? No. It will eventually, under this resolution, will be given. Yes, I'd like to know what the tax impact is on the future. What is it going to be in 4 years? What is it going to be in 10 years? I might sell my home and build in another area, move to another area in Brandon. I might even move somewhere else in Pearl. If there's an area, but there's not a lot of area in Pearl to live in. But, you know, I don't know. It's a shame we spent all this money on both sides. They've taken money out of their school system. We're taking money out of our school system to fight this. So, I don't know. You need to search your conscience and we need to decide what is right for the future.
But our job as a board is...
I know, and your job as a
to
board...
do what is right for Rankin County.
Rankin County, that's correct, and I understand that.
And you mentioned selling your house. Do you think it would have any effect if you sold your home?
Yes.
Your students are safe.
Right, but in the future, my understanding is,
if
if I sold my home, it would be designated as a Pearl address under this resolution. I do think that, and I haven't talked to any realtors, it could have an adverse effect on my property value. It could. No one has shown me that proof. No one has shown me. No one really knows for sure if it will. I've heard that Pearl property values are good compared to some in Brandon. So it could be either way. But that is, I think, I'm just going to say, as a board, yes, you have to do what is right for Rankin, what is right for the future. You have to look down the road for what is there. I mean, that is your moral and probably legal obligation as elected officials, is to do what is the due course to protect Rankin County, unfortunately. And I'm swayed on both sides. But that is, you have to look at the legal law, the legal letter of the law, what is right. And unfortunately,
the millage impact in that transfer would be, you would be moving from a school district that has 49.42 mills for school tax as opposed to 60.38.
Which is what Pearl is, what you're saying.
10.9.
So future person, if I sold my home, you're telling me that they would pay that additional millage as city school tax, and I would have to say you will be designated to go to Pearl schools,
That's
which
correct, right.
could have an impact on who wants to move. But then I've heard people say they want to move into this area where I am. There's a lot of homes for sale in my subdivision right now. I don't know if that's an adverse effect of what's been going on here. I really don't know.
Right around Rankin County, you see a lot of that.
You know, I also understand this is 1/10 of 1% of Rankin County. That's what I've been told. 1/10 of 1%.
Well, I think we're getting some assumptions that we want to just walk away and turn it over to Pearl right now. That's not the case. If you said your kids are safe either way, if Judge Lee rules next year that Pearl wins, your kid's not safe, they're going to Pearl.
Oh, no.
But what about this thing in August?
No, they won't. That's already been approved by Judge Lee and the Justice Department.
That's what?
If he chose during that 08 to 10 year to send his kids to, it doesn't matter what the
That can't be
outcome,
changed.
that cannot be changed. That's been approved by the judge
Is
and
the
by.
future, is what's
Is
for the
that
future.
correct, Ben?
Two things. You're safe. The court has already, this was done at our initial status conference with Judge Tom Lee. He approved the 2-year 2008, 9, and 10 voluntary transfer process. Just a small number of students, parents elected to have their students in this area, this in-between area, go to Pearl schools. And the federal judge in the case has basically said both school districts, and the Justice Department was kind of bothered that nobody had come to them initially for permission. But the federal judge has approved that. That's in an order, and that is fixed. That's not going to back up. And the other aspect of this to bear in mind is this is the purpose of the summary judgment motion, to leave things as they are. That would happen if the court were to grant this.
Would there still be an option for people that live in there that are Pearl to ask for waivers for their children to go to Pearl?
It continues under this order. The judge basically said all the way up to the 12th grade. Is that right? Yeah.
I'm asking questions because I've heard from both sides.
I built my house, when I bought my land off El Dorado Road, I live in the
You live in El
southern
Dorado,
section, so
right.
I'm on the other side of what you are. When I bought my land, I was under the notion I did not have kids. I bought my land and built my house in 2005. My daughter,
what we did.
My daughter's 4. Okay, I did not have any kids at that time, but I was under the impression, and what was happening at that time was this area was going to be annexed into Pearl. But even if that didn't fall through, the people that were living in that area were getting releases to go to Pearl School. I bought my lot, built my house under the assumption that my future kids, I did not have kids in, but my kids would be able to go to Pearl and get a release. Well, my daughter was born, she's 4 now. I was told that, hey, now they're not giving waivers. And now my child, after I had built my house, and it's not a lower scale house, it's an upscale house, and I don't want to move. But I'm to the point to where I will probably move just so my kids can go to Pearl, because that's where I went. That's where I went. That's where my wife went. What we're looking at here, people, is choice.
And that's where I have the
All we want is
problem.
choice.
That's where I have this issue, is the
You
choice.
chose to send your kids
Right.
to Rankin County.
And we built
I
the
choose
same
to
way you
send
did.
mine to Pearl.
And we built
The
the same way you
waivers were
did.
there before, they're not there now.
And that's the same, and I'm
So
agreeing
represent
with
the
you.
people and give them a choice. That's what it is right now. And all this assumption of 487 kids leaving. Well, if 487 kids leave and go to Pearl, then you can assume that those parents did not want their kids to go to Rankin County schools. Now, y'all all know that's not true. Just give them a choice. 487 kids is not going to choose to leave Rankin County schools if they're already going there. But the people that have kids in the future, hey, if it's Pearl, if they buy in Pearl, somebody comes in and buys a house that's annexed into Pearl, they ought to know. Common sense tells you that should be the Pearl School District. So they know that whatever kids they have or future kids will be going to Pearl.
I'm just looking for choice. That's all I want. Just like
Let me ask you one more question that you can answer, Ben, also. You all have told us that if we get unitary status, that if we do this, we are jeopardizing getting unitary status. I know Pearl wants that also. If we went forward and we settle this lawsuit in court, as we should, let the judge decide what's the right thing to do. If we do that, and then we file for unitary status, Pearl files for unitary status, which they've already done and intend to do, then we can transfer the kids any way we want to.
Absolutely.
Can we not?
Absolutely, and here's your best benefit of that.
Then we can offer all these people in Pearl who want to go to Pearl, we can do that.
The problem is both school districts have their hands tied by the desegregation decree. And what they would be able to do in a unitary system, which is your ultimate goal, we want Pearl to become unitary. We don't want to do a thing in this case that jeopardizes that. The same way for Rankin County School District. Once you're free from that, you are able to sit down and what I call pull, tug, trade, and bargain. And you can do that. And you do that between two school districts, knowing all the facts, being able to freely work back and forth with maps in front of them, with all of the relevant information financially, and you can do that. You can't do that now. And your problem is, and I'm not saying it's the bad federal court, you are subject, all of you are subject to the federal desegregation decree that requires the U.S. attorney to approve and sign off on any change along the lines that's been done. Now, back to this order. The order and the resolution that's been approved by Judge Lee keeps in effect for all of the families that have already gotten involved in that, this choice. Well, I hate to call it freedom of choice, but it's basically kind
This
of like
gentleman
that.
here, at the time, decided, they didn't have kids. They weren't in that. And I understand, and they weren't in that. And I think he ought to have the right to send his children to Pearl school districts. I built my home, custom home, just like he did. $280,000 home in a subdivision with the presumption that if I ever sold that home, that he would have a choice to go to Rankin or Pearl school district. That's what we were told when we built there. Whether it was by the subdivision, people who developed it, the realtors, whatever. We were told we were going to have this choice. Now, maybe we should have hired attorneys to look at the law and what was going on, but we shouldn't have to do that. Now, I understand what you're saying, this Unitarian status thing. Is there anything in place that Rankin is going to honor that and let them go to Pearl schools? I understand they have, and maybe it's a federal thing they do, but they have blocked waivers, whereas Pearl has honored waivers up and allowed students to go to Rankin County, but that hasn't been reciprocated on the Rankin County side, and I have an issue with that, especially when I hear a child that's doing well in Pearl, and for whatever reason, their address changed and they couldn't get in that. They petitioned for a waiver and it was denied. And this child was made to go to a Rankin County school and their grades went down. They were a dyslexic child, a special needs child, and I have an issue with that. A moral issue with that. That you as a board would deny that to a child, to a parent that was already in the district. Y'all are saying you don't want to take, I understand it. But here's an example of a child that was not allowed to do that. Now, I don't know if these are because of legal issues that you can't grant the waivers now, or what. But if it is, that needs to be fixed.
Let me give the quick answer. I don't mean to interrupt you. The quick answer is exactly what we're saying. Once both schools are out from under the desegregation decree, that's what it means to become unitary.
Okay.
They are free to work together to tailor a solution that both school districts in detail and for the future can work with, and they can change from year to year. They are able to tailor changes as needed from year to year. They can't do that right now. And the court terminated this process. The school districts tried to do it voluntarily. It's terminated. They would like to, and I think they're able to, as unitary school districts, and they would be able to do that. And I think this school board and its successor would all be back in good faith, as with the Pearl district.
Why can't this be accomplished without having to go to court and spend millions of dollars to do it? Why can't I'm just asking a question. Why can't this have already been done to get to the Unitarian status for both school districts.
He just told us a few minutes ago, though, that the expert in desegregation cases that we have hired, and the one that Pearl has hired, I believe, have both said that if we agree to something at this point, it's going to affect whether or not we can obtain unitary status.
Okay, so it can't be done, you tell me it can't be done outside of a legal issue, out of a federal court issue to be ruled on to put things status quo where you can go forward to this status, to get to this status. And this would never happen if they never filed the suit. The Unitarian status would never been able to be achieved on both sides. Is that what you're telling me?
No, that's not what I said.
I'm just trying to understand that. If the suit had not been filed to get these lands, these areas, could this Unitarian status from both Rankin County School Board and the Pearl City School Board been obtained? Could that have been attained?
Ultimately, yes.
Ultimately, yes?
Yeah, the quick answer is this.
Okay.
Both school districts want to be out from under the desegregation.
Yeah, I understand that.
And that will free them to operate strictly under state law.
Right.
And with very competent counsel, with Skipper.
Was that process never looked
and
at
with
to get to that?
Well, there is no way to do that. This was filed. This was filed before they knew what was happening. It was a yeah. It's actually a motion for enlargement.
Okay, I understand that.
But that was done, so it's like unringing a bell.
Okay.
The quick answer is unitary status frees them up to work out
And I understand
precisely what you're talking about.
I just asking if it could have been. I just asking if it could have been accomplished.
This gentleman has brought me calls. He has been answering. We have someone who has stood quietly.
And I'm sorry, Patty.
And I think your board should show him courtesy in her this time.
I just got a couple things I want to say. We left Pearl in 2004, 2005. We moved back in 2006. We were trying to decide where in Pearl we were going to live. I wanted my kids to attend Pearl School. We went out to Patrick Farm, found a house in Patrick Farm, looked at the school district. The school district, when you look at the map, it shows my house was in the Pearl School District. We bought the house, moved into the house, and the county sends us a letter telling us that we have to get special permission to go to Pearl. So we thought we was in Pearl District. The map showed, you're in Rankin District. So we send a letter and we get approved back during the time for our kids to attend Pearl School District. Okay? Now, since then, we have found out that we live in the Pearl School District. There are 3 houses, I think, on my street that are in the Pearl School District. A lot of Patrick Farms is already in Pearl School District. The kids already go there. I live there. I have seen a little growth there. I have seen some homes built on the front side. I've seen some homes built on the back side. But I hadn't seen a lot of growth growing on there. I mean, there's still a lot of vacant property out there that people there's a lot of houses for sale that they can't sell out there. A lot of folks lost their jobs, okay? So my point is, I moved, they said Pearl is going to be answered by Pearl. I want my kids to go to Pearl. If I want my kids to go to Pearl, I'm looking for property in Pearl. If I'm looking to go to Brandon School District, I'm going to Brandon and looking for property. If I want my kids to attend another school, I'm going there. If I want them to go to Florence, I'm going to Florence. I'm not moving somewhere and going, I'm going to move to Pearl, but I want my kids to go to Brandon. I'm not doing that. Nobody in their right mind, in their right sense, are going to do that. Now, we can have attorneys do all this, and we can spend all this money, but the simple fact is that if I say, I want my kids to go to school in Pearl, I'm going to move to Pearl. That's good common sense. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little upset, but I've been hearing everything here today, but it just comes down to common sense. If you want your kid to attend a certain school, understand Al's position, he wasn't annexed at the time. But now it's Pearl. It is Pearl. There's no denying that it is in Pearl. I'm the police chief at Pearl. We answer the calls out there. When people start looking for a home, they look for a couple things. If they have children, they look at the school district. and they say, oh, this is where I want my kid to go to school. The second thing they look at is they look at the crime, they look at the fire protection. Those are the two things that they look at, what kind of community it is. Now, we can continue to spend money, or we can go to the people that say, hey, I want to live in Pearl, I want to go to school in Pearl. It's common sense.
I've been in Pearl for 42 years.